Doctor Who is an amazing show, but no show is perfect. Writers, SFX artists, and directors can make mistakes. And what type of internet critics would we be without pointing all of them out? I'm Will for Who Culture, and here are 10 Doctor Who mistakes you can never unsee. 10. Wrong number. The Impossible Planet. The Impossible Planet / the Satan Pit is a cracking story from Series 2, and it's very hard to find any major faults with it. But since we're here to nitpick and point out funny mistakes, here's one from the very end of the first episode. When the 10th Doctor and Ida are descending into the core of the so-called Impossible Planet, we're shown a screen that displays their oxygen levels, which continually deplete as they get lower and lower beneath the surface. Or at least they're supposed to continually deplete. The oxygen percentage goes from 96 to 81, and then a couple of shots later from 40 to 31. So you'd expect the next shot to be lower than 31, but for some reason it bounces all the way back up to 45 before descending into the 30s all over again. These numbers are quite in your face too. It's not like they're off to the side on some tiny monitor, so the mistake is rather glaring. 9. The Disappearing Bucket. Deep breath. Many wondrous things are possible in the vast world of Doctor Who. Objects can be shrunk down to tiny sizes, people can explore the stars in highly advanced spacecraft, and apparently, ordinary buckets can just vanish. Partway through Series 8's Deep Breath, Clara Oswald encounters Strax the Sontaran, who politely asks her if she needs anything. She says that she wouldn't mind some water, at which point Strax, who lacks social skills on a basic level, dumps an enormous bucket of dirty mop water on the table. Understandably, quite taken aback by this, Clara refuses Strax's kind gesture, and in the very next shot, the bucket is just gone. No one's shown moving it, and there just isn't time for anyone to move it anyway, due to how quick the sequence of shots is. It's just a magic disappearing bucket. Spooky. 8. The Doors of Hazard, the Time of Angels. Safety precautions are a common sight in all sorts of places, no matter what universe you're in, and the Doctor Who-niverse is no different. Well, actually, it is different in one respect. Grammar. Look no further than Series 5's The Time of Angels, in which the 11th Doctor, Amy Pond and River Song hunt an escaped weeping angel through the creepy maze of the dead. Before they embark on that mission though, they group up at base camp to formulate a plan, and it's here where we find our mistake. When Amy is stood in the doorway of a futuristic ship, look at the door behind her to see the phrase "Caution, Trip Hazard" plastered across the surface. This of course should say Trip Hazard with a single Z, not two, unless of course it's written in some funky alien language that randomly adds extra consonants, I guess. 7. Cameraman cameo. The Poison Sky. Normally, crew members being accidentally caught on camera fall under the category of blink and you'll miss it mistakes, but this absolute whopper from Series 4's The Poison Sky is the exact opposite. In the middle of the episode, when all hell has broken loose between the unit's soldiers and the battle-hungry Sontarans, the 10th Doctor starts tracking some alien technology using his sonic screwdriver. At this point, if you look directly to the right of him, you can see a door with a reflective glass surface that clearly contains a couple of crew members who have been unwittingly caught in the shot. Honestly, it's baffling that this wasn't caught in production, or maybe they just hoped no one would notice. Well, joke's on you, Doctor Who creators. We're nerds. We notice things. 6. Amy Pond's mic pack. The Power of 3. Every single TV set that's ever been created has been littered with high-tech recording equipment, but most of the time, none of this equipment ends up in the shot. However, in Series 7's The Power of 3, Karen Gillan's ass decided to make an exception. In this episode, the Doctor is very bored. He spends most of the time sitting around, waiting for a mysterious collection of black cubes to show any signs of life. And so, to pass the time, he starts doing some chores around Amy's house, like mowing the lawn, painting the fence, and vacuuming. During the vacuuming segment, the Doctor walks in front of the sofa that Amy is sat on, forcing her to lift her legs. When she does so, you can very clearly see a microphone pack wedged in the back pocket of Gillan's jeans, which is visible for a good couple of seconds before the scene moves on. Like the cameraman cameo in The Poison Sky, this is another mistake so glaring you have to imagine the production crew noticed it, but just didn't have the time or the motivation to bother changing it. 5. Magic Whistle, the Empty Child. Lots of characters in the Doctor Who universe have special powers, from aliens that can shapeshift to the Time Lords being able to survive death by regenerating. But those are nothing compared to the insane skills displayed by Nancy in Series 1's The Empty Child. 10 minutes into the episode, Nancy is seen raiding a stranger's house, searching its cupboards for food. But rather than scoffing it down herself, she heads outside and performs a loud finger whistle, informing the local homeless children that she's found some grub for them to eat. It's not immediately noticeable due to how darkly lit the scene is, but on closer inspection, you can clearly see that Nancy is still wearing her gloves when she performs the finger whistle, which would obviously make it impossible. This one's definitely easier to make out in motion, and no, the gloves are not fingerless. 4. The Doctor's Script, The Day of the Doctor. It is one of the greatest scenes in Doctor Who history. The moment in The Day of the Doctor where 13 Doctors combine forces to save Gallifrey from a Dalek assault. For such a memorable moment, this scene fittingly also contains one of the show's most memorable mistakes, courtesy of leading man Matt Smith. The scene cuts between a few different perspectives, and in many of Matt Smith's shots, you can see a script sitting on the TARDIS console next to him, which the actor presumably left there by accident. Now, the lighting in these shots does make the script blend into the console's surface a little, but once you spot it, you will never be able to unspot it. 3. Windy Hair Hologram, Doomsday. The 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler stood on the beach at Bad Wolf Bay, bidding each other a tearful farewell. It's a moment that most fans hold in extremely high regard, but at the same time, it's also a moment with a really distracting mistake. For the duration of this scene, the Doctor is actually inside the TARDIS, projecting a hologram of himself onto the beach so he can say goodbye to Rose. He tells her that he's just an image, and that she can't physically touch him, which also means that his hologram shouldn't be affected by the surrounding environment, like say the weather. But despite all of this, David Tennant's hair can be seen blowing in the wind throughout their entire conversation. Obviously, David Tennant just shot on the beach in person, leaving his spiky locks vulnerable to the slight breeze. He's even acknowledged this mistake himself, saying that he was constantly worrying about the fact that his hair was blowing in the wind, hinting that this was something the production crew actually tried to find a solution for. 2. TARDIS Lighting, The Doctor's Daughter. The TARDIS is one of the most advanced machines in the Doctor Who universe, capable of travelling anywhere in time and space in a matter of seconds. In fact, the TARDIS is so advanced that it even has its own lighting rig, presumably to make its interior look as bright and welcoming as possible. Alternatively, this might just be a production mistake. At the end of Series 4's The Doctor's Daughter, the 10th Doctor hops back in the TARDIS and sets course for Martha Jones's home on Earth. During this scene, the camera pulls back to give us a wider view of the TARDIS console, and on the left-hand side of the shot, you can very easily see an enormous lighting rig that has sneaked its way into the scene. Whoops. Granted, the rig does sort of blend in with the similar colour of lighting seen in the central console pillar, but considering that the shots are lingered on for a good amount of time, it's truly baffling no one caught this blunder. 1. Matt Smith's Impossible Positioning, An Adventure in Space and Time. The 2013 biographical drama An Adventure in Space and Time tells the complicated true story of Doctor Who's origins. The story follows William Hartnell, brilliantly portrayed by David Bradley, as he gets to grips with playing the first Doctor, and in an emotional final scene, Hartnell has a vision of the show's future success, which is personified by a cameo appearance from Matt Smith's Doctor. When Smith first appears, everything looks great. He stood behind the TARDIS console in the back layer of the shot, fiddling with the controls, as Doctors tend to do. But then in the very next shot, he's magically moved positions, and is now stood in front of the TARDIS console. Like, what? It's clearly impossible for the 11th Doctor to be stood here. He'd be right in Hartnell's face, like they'd be basically making out. It's such a huge screw-up at a pivotal moment in the story, and quite how this slipped through the final product is anyone's guess. And there you have it, folks, 10 Doctor Who mistakes you can never unsee. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDowgU. I'm Will for Who Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.